Welcome to the Remarkable Life podcast. I'm your host and coach, Caryn Gillen. And today we get to have Phyllis here, and she's going to be coach. So, first off, I want to say thank you. I think it's a big deal that people show up and offer this up. So, I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no, thanks. I feels like an opportunity on my end as well. So it's nice to be able to do it.
Good. Do you want to introduce yourself just so people know who you are and who you help, and in case they're looking around for what you offer?
Of course, sure. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, my name is Phyllis Nichols, and I own a business called Sound Advice Strategies. We are a podcast production company. We work primarily with service-based businesses and the companies that are using their podcast as a way to expand their reach and really primarily as a form of lead generation. So that's kind of who we are and what we do. And yeah, we do a lot of it. We're a done with you service, so we work really closely and collaboratively with our clients. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm always hearing people wondering about that. So, this is good to know you.
Yeah, thanks.
So tell me, what would you like coaching on today? Or what would move the needle for you?
Yeah. So I gave this a little bit of thought, and a couple of things kind of bounced around. But the thing I think that comes back most frequently has to kind of do with patterns, right? There are patterns and things that kind of keep showing up, and some of the patterns in my life serve me well.
Hmm.
Um, there's one pattern that maybe doesn't serve me so well, so I'd like to talk about that, which is primarily I'm a really big picture, tons of ideas person. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, like all kinds of ideas all day, every day. Like, and I actually finally just to keep my mind focused when it needs to be focused, I have like a place where I put all my ideas. Like it's
Okay.
crazy. Um,
Good.
and and I'm also really good at sort of starting things, right? I can see right away like what needs to happen and how to get something started, and I can see the end result and all that. The pattern that doesn't work well for me though is the um executing everything, like really being able to get everything like across the finish line, so to speak. Now, I don't do
Hmm.
everything on my own. I do have a team. Um, but this is kind of a recurring pattern. Like I can get things to a certain point and then I become the bottleneck, right? So I have other people that can help. I have other people with the skills that I don't have, or the skills I don't enjoy doing. But it's a recurring thing. And so the people on my team would be really grateful if I could quit
Hmm.
being the bottleneck. And I would also be really grateful if I had a better way I mean, recognizing the pattern has helped, right? Because we're like, oh, yeah, okay, we've been here many times before. Like, we're going to need to move forward. But it would also be really nice if I had a way to maybe minimize it or, yeah, have some strategies to work around that.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like you have a ton of ideas, but you actually already have an idea management system or plan.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably not. Yes, I do. It helps a lot. It's not like perfect, but yeah, I don't feel like that's the problem.
Yeah. So to me, the problem that's coming up is deciding, just something about decisions. Like, is it deciding what I will do and what I won't do, committing to what I am doing? Like, tell me more about how you make decisions and how maybe making them or not making them could be adding to this.
Yeah, okay, so I think that's probably on target to a certain degree, right? So I'm actually usually a fairly quick decision maker, right?
Hmm.
So I sort of got to go with it, I don't know, unless it feels like it's going to be really like life altering, right? Because I don't feel like there's a whole lot of things, especially in our business, like that can't sort of be undone or dealt with or whatever. So, um, I think though sometimes, right, there's the decision to stay really focused, right? Just be like, I'm
Hmm.
going to block out everything except um, kind of these couple of things that we've identified as being really important. Like these are the important things that we know are next in our business or whatever we're working on. Um, so Yeah, I don't know if that answered your question or not, but there's definitely
Wait,
something there. I think it's also deciding, it's probably deciding not to, um, that's probably the hardest part, right? For me is deciding I have this great idea and I'm not going to take action, right?
yeah. Yeah. So is having great ideas that you are or aren't going to take action on the thing that gets in the way and creates the bottleneck?
No, not exactly. I
Okay.
think the thing that creates a bottleneck is I'm like, I have this great idea and I'll get the ball rolling. And then I
Yeah.
get like sort of, kind of pretty well into it. It depends. I mean, some things are really big and some things are not. But um and
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, now I need maybe like my graphic design person needs to get involved to kind of help finish some things up or make things look nice or
Mm.
whatever, right? Like that's a good example. Not the only one, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
And then I become the bottleneck at like relaying information to her properly or really helping her, trying to get her to understand kind of where I'm seeing and what I'm doing, where we're going with this.
Yeah.
So now she's trying to work on stuff, but she's getting again, I try to be complete, but I'm always not
Yeah.
clearly based on my team's feedback, not always communicating as well as I would like. So then, yeah, so then everybody's like, okay, we're all ready to get this going. And now like everything's at a standstill because it's all still in your head and we need to figure this out.
Right. So the thought I'll get the ball rolling is like, I don't know exactly the right word for it. I see it as the bowling ball hitting all knocking the pins over. Like you had strategy, you had projects you were working on, and then some good idea comes in and it's your nice little thought, I'll just get the ball rolling. Like that seems helpful and fun. That just kind of knocks everything out, distracts everybody, yourself included, and then no one actually gets what you were going to get done or this thing done.
Um, to a certain degree now, my team is actually really good at actually getting things done,
Good.
right? So a lot of times they don't let other things slide. They'll be like, okay, this is a great idea, Phyllis, but we're going to go back to this thing that we are
Awesome.
all working on that we are all going to get finished. It's helpful.
Yeah.
My husband is also works with me and is a um, very linear process thinker,
Hmm.
which is super helpful, right? So these are really complementary skills. So that I'm like, I have this great big idea, and he's the one who's already automatically thinking, like, okay, what exactly has to happen, to make this come to life or to actually execute. So, um, but back to your point, like they don't allow me to not complete the things that are important, but it definitely I can slow things down sometimes. But what happens more often is that they're ready to also gear up on something else, and now they have incomplete information or they didn't quite really get the message on what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And also sometimes, well, no, I think that's mostly it. When I'm the bottleneck, that's it. I think now that I'm talking this through, it's irritating me that I think it's actually really primarily maybe a communication problem.
Right. Which makes sense if you're working with a team. Like if it's just us,
Yeah,
it's easy to be like, well, I'll just stop doing that and do this because this has energy and feels fun because no one's left hanging. But in this case,
right,
people don't have the full access to your brain like you do to have all of the
right,
ideas. Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think in addition to maybe cataloging all my ideas, um, maybe I need to have sort of a way that I outline them or explain them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I do think well a lot of times when I'm writing. So um I don't know now that we're talking, I'm kind of thinking maybe that would be an approach.
So to have the idea
Yeah.
and then kind of write the story about it so that when you want to pick it up later, you have the whole thought rather than getting the ball rolling to the team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Instead they're getting sort of at least the backs like some context.
Yeah.
And because I mean I think a lot of times I feel like I've provided the context, but I think it's it's definitely still much more clear in my mind as opposed to what I've shared and how other people can understand is that if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And even what you said kind of at the beginning is like, I'm a pretty quick decision maker and I know like we can kind of undo whatever. It's your relationship to something getting started is pretty like, well, we'll do it and then we can change our mind or we can shift, right? But when you have X number of people working with you, then the communication on that little shift in your mind becomes like 5 times as much work in the communication realm.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
point. You're right. It is.
Yeah. So I'm wondering
Yeah,
because you it sounds like you love having ideas and like your
I
ideas move the
do.
business forward and it's really good to have all of these. It's like a part of what makes this thing work for you. So you want to, keep it and support it and love
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
What do you think you need to be thinking? Because I just get the sense that you're very in the moment, but you're not thinking about like what's the 3 week long ramification of just getting the ball rolling. Like what can you do to tie yourself to further down the road labor that's involved?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the $1 million question, right?
Yes.
Because you're right. You're right. I'm not, you know, yeah, I'm really good at seeing the big picture and sort of maybe the end result.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, not that sort of what I would call the messy middle, right? Like
Right.
that part isn't really super clear. And I think it always has to be super clear, but I think there has to be, yeah. So I don't, that's a great question, Karin. And I'm not sure. I think that I know the best way to do that.
Right.
Um,
How do you
yeah.
like how does it work now if you guys are wanting to take on one of the ideas and make it a project and everyone's going to work it through till it's done? How do you decide how long something's going to take and if it's worth it or not?
Well, I just decide.
Okay.
I do actually, well, it depends. Okay. That's not, I mean, if it's something kind of small and fairly quick and easy, right? Like we can just do it. If it's something that I know is going to require like a lot of support from, like our operations team, then obviously I do talk with them first and I'll be like, hey, they're really used to this, right? Where I'm like, I have this idea and here's this thing. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay. So, but a lot of times, I mean, they're also super supportive because a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, that is a good idea. This will definitely like enhance our client experience, and we should definitely, make this shift or change or add this thing or whatever.
Right.
So, I think I can see though where there would be maybe some benefit to a little bit of structure around it,
Hmm.
like what's the idea, what's the end result, just really identifying some of those things. um that doesn't honestly doesn't sound like very much fun to me now. All of a sudden the idea doesn't really seem that fun or exciting. It seems like ugh, right?
Right.
Just
Just more
talking about it in
process.
that way is also making me go like, ugh, never mind.
Right. Yeah. So
And I don't
it's
really want to lose that exactly.
but there are ideas I'm guessing that stand that are like worth the of the like labor between the idea and the completion. Right? There are some
Oh,
ideas
for
that are
sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
sure, of course.
if you take the time to think through like, okay, if I'm going to do this, that means I'm deprioritizing this other thing and it's going to take X number of weeks or hours or whatever, that there would be something that happens for you where things might shift. Because it's really you saying, I'm willing to become a bottleneck for this project, or I'm unwilling to become a bottleneck for this project.
Yeah, that's that's helpful actually, even just thinking about it in that way. Because right, I mean, I recognize now the pattern, like, oh, this is going to
Hmm.
be one of those things that everybody's going to sort of go like, oh, um, so yeah, I think that could help, right? Even just answering that question, like, am I willing to take my focus off of, a couple of core things that are always like, there's some core stuff in our business that always require my focus and attention.
Yeah.
And, is it worth taking some time or focus from that and energy, right? And putting it somewhere else? Um, Even just probably answering that question is probably a good step towards going, okay, maybe it is a great decision. It's just something we need to do after this other thing is finished or
Right.
after, or when, we can maybe just hire somebody to just do this little project,
Hmm. Yeah.
that kind of thing, maybe.
Because like new ideas and that kind of that's like sexy, good energy. It's fun. There's dopamine in it, right? And then when you
Yeah.
bring in
Yeah.
that little reality check of like, and am I willing to become a bottleneck for this? That will let you know, like, is this just like candy, or is this like meat? Like, is this going to be satisfying long term?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. That's a great way to put it. And I think it's, kind of a really, again, for me, like a quick,
Hmm.
sort of a quick litmus test, right? Like,
Yep.
then okay, so if I can say, yeah, okay, maybe it is worth it, like then I can at least take the next step. Or I can be like, oh, okay, this is just maybe I need to circle back to,
Yeah.
and whenever in a month or two or whatever, and check it out then if I still feel really strongly about it.
Right. Yeah. And I love that you already have a place you store ideas so that it has this respected landing pad that it can go
Yes,
to.
it's so crazy. It's this huge Notion file thing, and it's massive now. And
Yeah.
it's okay though. Like I just went the beginning of this year, I went and cruised through it, and I was pleasantly surprised that like a number of things in there were done. Like,
Awesome.
we're like, oh, we did that. We did that. Oh yeah, we did that too. Like that happened too, right? Those kinds of things. And then there were some
Yeah.
where like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking about this one, right? I can just delete it.
Delete. So it's good. It's not a place
um,
where the ideas go to die. It's like they are honored or moved on.
Sometimes, yeah, it's sometimes right. Like it's sort of that subconscious, right? I just didn't even think I don't know if you ever did this, but like in college or whatever, where you write yourself a letter and then at the end of the year or something, you get your, and you realize like, oh yeah, like here are several things that were really important to me. And it's not like I focused on them every day, but all of a sudden at the, so that was a nice feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah. But this is
Awesome.
helpful. I think just asking that one other question, like, is this worth taking my focus off something else? And is it worth, potentially becoming a bottleneck because it's so important that this happens, or it's so intriguing that
Hmm.
I really feel like I have to move forward.
Yeah.
That
Which
could
is
work.
fun because then like I did that on purpose. Like, yeah, there's a little bottlenecking happening, and I that was intentional and it's good for the business, and I'm choosing this.
Yeah, yeah, which
Yeah.
feels a lot better than like, oh,
I did
like
it again.
we're back in this place again. Yeah, and
Yeah.
everybody's like, why can't you just send me this info?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? It's like, yeah,
Hmm.
you're agreeing to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's super helpful, Karin. So thank you.
Yeah.
That's that already feels like empowering, sort of, right? Like I have
Perfect.
as much as I like, and I've really tried to quit saying I'm not a process person because I can be, and I am, and some things I'm very process driven, but I think I like having good criteria to make good decisions, and I
Mhm.
have this in other places of my life really well defined. I think just applying that here makes some sense, right? I don't know
Yeah.
why it didn't really occur to me to do that, but now that that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And most of the time we just don't slow our processes down enough to find the one place where we could insert different behavior.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is
Yeah.
great. I love this was super helpful actually.
Good.
No, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go back through my list now.
Well, perfect. I'm glad this was helpful. Thank you for showing up and
Of
sharing it. I
course.
know that there will be people listening who are the idea people like you, and this will be helpful for them.
Oh, well, I hope so. And if you're idea people out there, yeah, don't let people stop. I mean, I definitely am like, I am not stopping this. Like, this is who I am. It's baked in. And and, but I also don't want to like, annoy things. And I also don't want to be so scattered, right, that I'm not
Right.
effective.
Right.
And I do feel like in many, many ways, I mean, I'm way beyond that. I mean, I'm very aware now, like where my focus needs to be most of the time. But um, yeah,
Yeah.
there are days though where I'm like, I just feel like having a fun day and doing something different.
Well, that's actually something that popped into my head is like, do you have built-in time for you just to play with your ideas? That doesn't mean the whole team has to get involved or it takes priorities away, but like true playtime for you.
Um, a little, but probably not as much as I should. I actually feel like I should probably go put like, maybe one day every 3 weeks or so, like, and just sort of
Yeah.
block that out. And that's sort of like Yeah, kind of idea day or creation day or whatever, just sort of to
Yeah.
let
Free day.
and yeah, a free day. And again, also then when things come, it's like there's going to be a place where I in a time when I can actually kind of pay attention to this and honor this, and I don't feel like I'm just because a lot
Yeah.
of times I'm like, I feel like these design like not every idea, obviously, but some of them I'm like, this is divinely inspired. Like I can't
Right.
ignore this, right?
Yeah.
And
And you
so
wouldn't have had time to put it into place if you don't make time.
right, right. So, but there's which has got me in trouble in the past, right? Because I'm like, it's just it's such a great, like, I have to stop everything and do this. Um, and yeah, so now maybe I can just be like, oh, but 2 weeks from Wednesday, like, is my day. Like, I'm going to be able to circle back to this
Hmm.
and really play with it a little. So that's a great idea too. Thanks. You're really
Yeah.
good at this.
Hey, thanks. That's funny.
Not that I'm surprised. I listened to other episodes and so can I just reflect back something to you?
Absolutely. Thanks.
So I love you have a really great sort of calm and confident energy that when I'm listening, especially and even experiencing it personally today, but I think it really helps people be able to um think about and really truly kind of tap into what they're really working on. Um, yeah.
Awesome.
So, and I mean, I've worked with other coaches. Not every coach brings that to the table. So it's really cool that you do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah. That's my number one word I get reported back is calm.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But it's
Yeah.
not just calm. It's also like there's a confidence, like, and it's also I felt like relate to me. Like this is um like together, we're going to I don't know if that makes sense,
Yeah.
but yeah, it made me
Yeah.
feel more confident talking about it, which I don't think I always bring to the table in these situations. So anyway, it's
Awesome. Thanks
great.
for reflecting.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's lovely to connect though, and thanks for the opportunity to chat with you. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. I appreciate your time and your sharing.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna go do a little decision tree and put it over on my idea board.
I love it. You know what I love? I love a coaching conversation that is really a clarifying conversation. And I think when you're doing one-off sessions like this with people who you don't know, and you're getting to have this kind of quick dip in, dip out impact, that's a really great way to do it. It's just like, let's just get really clear on the parts and pieces of the conversation that matter and on what is possible or could be impacted here. So, Phyllis, I appreciate you for coming in and just sharing a process that could use a little zhuzh, however you spell that. And as always, I appreciate you being here and listening. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and a review for the podcast. And as always, you are invited to 30 Days of Powerful Questions. The link is in the bio. It's our free coaching journey. You and me in your inbox, 1 month. Let's get clarity. All right. Talk to you later.